Thank you for coming to the Standard Skills webinar, the first one on setup and scheduling. And we're going to be going over today how to start the setup and for how do you get skills to show up through working with the actual setup of the grade bins, the different grade groups that you want to work with, your skills themselves, associating them with courses, and then setting up sections and giving those sections to students. So the first thing we're going to do today is we're going to go under Admin and go to Database Configuration. In the Database Configuration, there is a Grading tab, and I'm going to change to my elementary school. In the Grading tab at the bottom right, there are two areas that you can check for the type of grade reporting environment that you want to use. You need to check the skills-based grading in order to have the Advanced Skills button show up under the Jobs menu on the left-hand side. You can also do standard course term-based grading at the same time, which gives the teachers the ability to work with assignments for the individual courses that they're teaching that can be used to average in and get the actual marking period grade. So it's just a matter of you would come in, check that item, click OK, and if this is the first time you're setting it up, then you would have to close the database and reopen it in order for it to take effect. This is actually stored in the license file. So if you get a new license file from us because you've added more options, then you would have to do that again. So I'm in the elementary school, and what happens because I checked both items is I have both a little grades reporting jobs, and I also have the Advanced Skills, which is your skills-based grade reporting job. When we go into Advanced Skills, you have areas at the top that are, once you've started setting things up, you can set up what courses you want for the different skills in the sense of is it math, English, reading, spelling, art, whatever kind of courses subjects that you want to work with. The sections are going to be the specific meeting times and which teachers are teaching them. We're going to be able to edit our skill groups and skills, which is I want to be able to differentiate between the skills that are needed for reading versus those that are needed for math. Things like that. Under my more skill grade editing jobs, what we're going to start with is the setup of the marking periods. And the marking periods are how many time frames do I have or how often do I put out report cards. So in this sample I have 4 marking periods and an overall average at the end. So it just depends on what you'd like to see. If you already have your report card set up, then you can take a look at that, and that's going to help you make determination. So if I go into my report card and look at my grades 1 and 2 report card that I have set up already, I have to go back and find the file. So what I'm doing here is I'm going under my C drive, inetpub, www.root into the MMSGB folder, which is my web portal, and then I'm going to my doc report cards. In here is where my text file is that is the source for the merge fields that I'm going to work with. If I come down toward the bottom of this report card, I'm going to see where I can merge in the student's name, but it also does things like over here in the center column I have my language arts, which is my reading, and then under English I also have oral, written, listening, I have spelling, I have handwriting. All of those are different areas that I want to be able to do my skills for. And on this report card I have 4 quarters and a yearly average. Now I might not have the average on all of my skills, but I would probably have it for at least the subject that I'm working with. So coming from your report card is a great way to know what do I need to set up, how many marking periods do I have? Am I doing it on trimester every 12 weeks? Am I doing it on quarter every 9 weeks? Am I doing it more often, less often? Do I want an overall year average? Maybe for a kindergarten report card, I don't need the year average, I just need the 4 quarters. So your report cards are going to dictate what you need for marking periods. So it's just you can load up the 4 marking periods, and there are defaults for 3, 4, and 6. If you find that you don't want the final one, then you just highlight it and go up to the red X and delete it. Very straightforward of what you want or not. You can also determine, do you want grades for all of these marking periods and or the average, and do you want a note associated with every marking period? So it gives you that option to be able to bring them in or not. So I might not have a note on my final average, but I do want a note for each marking period. So that's your choice. The second piece that we're going to work with here is under Advanced Skills, More Skill Grades, Editing Jobs, is we're going to go down to edit the valid grades for the skill groups. You can have as many different grade groups as you want. And you have things like you're going to give it an up to 4 character code group, or the group code I should say, and then you give it a description. Again, if we go back to our report card, we can see that I have subgroups, which has a plus, a check, a minus, or an empty square, which says the skill has not yet been introduced. We also have evaluation codes, which are your outstanding, very good, good, satisfactory, improving, needs improvement, unsatisfactory. Some might do above, advanced, meets the standards, or proficient. They're basic level, or they might be below basic. And different areas can have different code groups group codes that you're going to use. And things like the reading level and or your math level might be what grade they're in. So there's another group that I might need to look at. So it's take a look at your report card to determine what you need for groupings. Now if I scroll up to the top of the report card, or the first page, we also have things like for each of the different quarters or marking periods, there's also an area we can decide whether or not you have a conference requested or whether promotion is doubtful or not. And that might just be a checkup or not, or it might just be a double X, whatever you feel like putting in there. So that's another area where that might be a different grade group. In the back, we have better descriptions of the different levels on the report card, so it just gives you a way to be able to look at that. I'm going to come back into the body and go back to the generations. So if I come in, I would have added a new level, and I gave it a name, and then I fill in a description. When I go over to edit grades, I'm going to be able to see that these are my subgroups. So it's got a plus sign, which is strength in particular areas. We have a left square bracket CK, which is going to be my check mark. And you see that on the right-hand side of how we can bring in a check with or without a plus sign. And that's going to be satisfactory progress in an area. And then we also have weakness in an area. So it gives you a way to be able to put these in. I wasn't trying to rename the blank one. Thank you very much. I think I inadvertently took out the plus sign. So things like your math and reading levels, when we come in to edit those, is we're going to be able to see a number indicating the level that they're either reading at or that they're doing their math at. Now usually the default grade is the blank, which means the teachers would need to fill something in. You can do it where, say, when we had the plus check minus, you could do the check as the default. So when the teacher goes in to put in the skills, everybody gets a check by default. And then the teacher would modify the ones that need it. Each time they go into the student to edit the skills, is that check mark would show up by default rather than a blank. The display order is just what order do I want to see them in. In this one, I'm doing low level to high. In other items that I'm working with, I might be going high to low. So it all depends on what you want. So here with my conference requested or promotion doubtful, when I edit, I'm just going to see it's either blank or there's a double X there. So that's your choice how you want your grade groups put together. Different grade levels might have different groupings. If I go back and look at my competencies, which is just blank, below, or basic, I'm trying to remember which one of these it is. Yep, here it is. So here is my basic group where I have outstanding, and then they also added some with an asterisk, and that's indicating that it's adapted instruction. So if you see the O with an asterisk, it means that something additional was done. So it's up to the teacher to indicate that. And in this case, the satisfactory is the default, so when the teacher goes in, the S is going to be the code they're going to see. And if you didn't want all the codes in here, you'll notice that the I is not here for improving and so on. You can have different groups depending on the grade level of whether you want to include those options or not. You'll notice that your OK button has a little blue diskette on it, which is the same up here as your save. So it's just reminding you that when you click OK, it's going to save it. As I said, you can have as many of these as you want. Once the grades are set up, we're going to go in under the Advanced Skills, and then go to the Edit Skill Groups and Skills. This is where we translate the actual what we have on the report card, such as reading, and that I want the level, I want to use phonetic clues, all the way down through independent activities, or if I get into English, I have my oral versus my written versus my listening. So this is where we're going to be able to come in and show what we have. Now some of them, such as the major subjects, you have various and assorted different skills that you're looking at. If I scroll to the right and look under my, what a lot of schools term as specials, health, art, music, PE, computer, and foreign language, all I have here is just an overall conduct and effort grade. I don't necessarily have the individual skills that I would, say, under spelling. So what I do have is the two skills are going to be my conduct and my effort. So it just gives me a different way to work with that. But knowing what I have, when I come back into the skills, I can go start looking at what I have. Now, when I look at my math, it's just a matter of, oh, I have what's the level that they're reading, or not reading, but doing their math at, and that uses the LVL scale as far as what grades I have. But when I recognize and write numerals correctly, I'm using my subgroup, and that was my plus, check, minus. So you're going to be able to specify on each of these what you use. When I scroll down, say if I get into my English is actually going to have multiple things in it because I have my oral expression, I have my written expressions, and then I have my listening. So by making labels at the front of it, I can more clearly define to the teacher what they're going to work with. The skill group ID is sort of like a course code. It's anywhere up to 12 characters, letters, numbers, the underline. My skill ID can be up to 4 characters, and again, letters, numbers, underline if I want. The overall skill group that doesn't have a skill ID and you see just the dashes, that's the new skill group. That's like the top level. You can grade it if you want, but you don't need to. When you start adding in your individual skills, the sort order or the skill order is going to let you see what this is within. So if I end up changing my report card and I want my expresses ideas clearly before speaks in audible tone, then I can swap the skill order and they're going to show in the reverse order to the teacher. So this is the order that the skills show to the teacher when they grade, not the order that they are on the report card, even though we try to set those up the same way. The group order is the overall group. When the teacher looks to go to enter their skill grades, what order am I going to see the different groups in? So it just gives us a different way to work with that. And we can work with each one. So here's my handwriting ones, study habits. Now each of the courses, even though conduct and effort are the same, whether I'm under health, art, music, I need a different group each time because the student cannot have more than one group associated with, they can't have a group that's associated with more than one course. So if a student moves between sections, say a student moves what homeroom they're in, then I can replace the first teacher's sections with the second teacher's section, and it's going to ask me, do I want to move the skills? So I can say yes. I can't have, because of that, and the fact that I don't bring in the course and section when I bring in the skill, that's why I can't have the skill group associated with more than one course that the student has. Now I can have the same skill group associated with more than one course as long as it's different students. So my Health 1-2 that's conduct and effort, I could also use if it was 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade if those were the same things. So it might be a different report card, in which case I can use the same thing, but it's not the same student. So you have your health, your art, your music, your PE, computers, foreign language, different things that you have in here. The conference requested, in which case we start changing which ones we want to work with, and then we get into kindergarten skills. So that's a whole nother thing. When you add, if I wanted to come into computer and add another skill, I can go ahead and just go up to the yellow plus. It knows the group I was in because I was highlighted on it. So maybe I'm adding behavior as another skill group. So I click OK, and it will remember the group that I used before, figuring that you're probably using the same group. And as I come across to the right, it will automatically check the actual grade field, so 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and the average, which I might not want. So I might want to uncheck that, and also uncheck whether it's reportable if I'm doing a state standard. That's something that's coming with the 2.5 version of our portals. It's not here yet, but it's getting there. So it just gives us the option. So if I don't want to see it in the average, I can just uncheck it. The notes don't show unless we specifically check them. And sometimes you're going to see the notes when you get into different areas. If I come back up the top, maybe on the kindergarten, as I scroll down, you'll notice that under the kindergarten skills, that on the overall level of the first kindergarten skill is I also have checked just the note, but not the grade itself. So each quarter, it allows me to bring a note in. And the nice thing with that is it lets me put out that quarterly note that's going to show on the report card. And it just gives me that capability. So that could be an area where you put in a free-form note. When we get to the point of doing our advanced skills to set up the report card project, you will also be able to set a limit of how many characters of that note you're going to want to be able to bring into the report card. Because some teachers are wordier than others. So you can set up a limit. It doesn't prevent them from entering more. What it does do is it's saying, okay, I don't want to put that much out there. How you set up your skill IDs is entirely up to you. Here's an instance where they basically abbreviated what was in the skill description. So because it's kindergarten skills, you have PRNT is that they can print their name. LRSW is left to right. They can do a sweep with that. They can point to words. They understand the meaning of text. So how you set these up is entirely up to you. Others of them you're going to see, like here it's the CC and the CE, so the first letter of the skill ID was what the subject was, so C for computers, where F is for foreign language. The C and the E for conduct and effort. If I decide I don't want this particular skill anymore, all I have to do is go up to the red X and I can take it out. And that eliminates that one for me. Okay? So it all depends on what you want as far as how you put in the skills themselves. There is an edit button here which lets you better see the description, because some of the descriptions are longer than others and it can get really wordy. So it's nice when you have the opportunity to be able to really see what it says. Even though if you hover over it, it's going to show you the full thing. It's nice being able to come in here and have that bigger area in which you can edit it. So it just gives you that option. So it's just an easy way to put in the skills. If I was adding a whole new skill group, I would hit the Add Skill Group. And it will put it in as the next group order that I have. So if I was starting my 3rd to 6th report card, or a 3rd grade report card, if that's going to be different than the 4th grade, I would add a skill group. I can put in ENG3 if I want to put it in that way. I might have preferred to put it as 3 ENG, because then my skill IDs can be grouped together based on their description. And it's just your choice what you want to do. If I could spell, English 3. I click OK, and there's the start of my English. There's nothing that says that the group order has to be in straight order, so if I want to start this in the 300s, I could. If I want to put English first, there's my English 301. At this point, I can start adding my skills, and there might be some of the same ones I have that were in the 1st and 2nd grade report card. But they might have different ones that weren't in theirs, so I might want to put my E because it's the first one, E01, and then just type in what I'm looking for. It would help if I could spell. Okay, so they speak in an audible tone. And I can click OK. And because I came down a level, as I start to scroll right, I'm going to see that it automatically checked 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and final, and the average, which I might or might not want. Now before it lets me add another, it's going to tell me if I didn't set what grade group I wanted. So I have to do that before I can save. So if I'm putting in these that this is a subgroup, I can just type my S to go to the subcodes. And then when I add the next skill, and just type in the oral expression expresses idea clearly, it'll go to the next group, and it automatically brought in that grade group for me. So the rest of this is all going to be fine. And you just do this back and forth, fill them all in, and that's how you put in a skill group. You know, I'm grouping them, say in the group order here is the 300s because that's third grade. I can group them 400 for fourth grade and so on. By leaving yourself some extra order, it makes it nice if I have to, say, add something else to the report card, I don't have it sort of scattered all over the place. Just depends on what you want to work with. So it makes it really nice when you work with that. Once your skill groups exist, you're going to save and exit out of here. And again, under Advanced Skills, you're going to edit the courses for the skill grades. You can have as many different course codes as you want, letters, numbers, and the underline. Please do not put a dash in your course code. The course code can go up as long as 12 characters if that's what you've set up in your database configuration under scheduling. So if I needed to add in an English class for third grade, I can add another course, make it English 3 or 3 English if I want to see all of my third grade together. Type in the name of the course, and you'll notice that my skill group is black. That means I haven't selected a skill group yet. When I click on it, it gives me the list of all my different courses in the order of that group order. So my third grade is at the bottom, and I can just move it over. You can move more than one skill group to any one course that you're working with. So when I get to the point where I'm putting in things like the study habits for first and second grade, here I just have the study habits. Now the conference and so on might be associated with different areas, whether they're individual skill groups or they've made a change for what they want to work with. So here with my personal and social development, I might find that I have more than one thing of where I brought in the skill group that I needed for conference requested and so on. So whether you split them all out or you have just one big group, that's entirely your choice, because the skills for the kindergarten is just basically one big group that I did, instead of splitting it out individually as I did with first and second grade. How you split out the courses depends on how many different teachers you're going to be filling in the grades. If I have a different teacher, then I usually need a different course code so I can have a different section. If the same teacher does math, English, writing, and so on, then I could potentially put them all in together and make it one big group. When you go up to the printer button when you're here, you can opt, one of the things, because I went into the associated skill groups, is it automatically is going to update my student skill data to make sure the students have the skills that I specified. When I print the course listing, I can do it by course code or course name, and I can also opt whether or not I want to include my skill groups. The default is that I do. So then when I print, I'm going to get those different skills. So I'm going to see the name of the course, its description, what skill group ID, and the name of that skill group. So it makes it nice for me to see what do I have out there. And have I associated the correct skill group with the correct course. Whether the skill group name matches the course name is entirely up to you. Here I have language arts for reading that matches up with my reading, so it doesn't have to be the same. Just gives you the option. If I wanted to print the courses without being in the editor, I would come in under my Advanced Skills, More Skill Grades Editing Job, or excuse me, More Reports, and print the course listing for skill grades. And I would have that same report that I had before. If I want to get a list of what my skill groups are, I can go under the reports and do the skill groups and skill listing. That's going to let me see all of the ones I have out there. And that's giving me a nice quick list of this is the skill group, and they're always going to be in the group order first, and then the sort order to the left of the decimal place is the group order, it's the group ID or group sort number, and then to the right is my individual sort order of the individual skills, and it'll show what's been checked of what we're going to be seeing. So, you know, am I seeing it here or am I seeing it somewhere else? It gives me the grade group that I have associated with that. So it makes it nice for me to be able to see what am I going to work with. And here in my language arts for reading, I can see that I am going to have that 5th grade when I do my grade level, but not necessarily on the individual grades that are here, on the individual skills. So it all depends on what I need. So it's a nice quick way to get an output. And do remember that your output option includes sending this report to a PDF and or to Excel. So it depends on what, how you need to look at that later. You can also print the report card, the grading groups, the valid grades for the skill groups. And what's nice with that is it gives you an easy way to be able to look at it. So here, with some of my basic skills, this is a skill level that goes anywhere from 0 to 25. The next is a BS with /48, so it's going to go anywhere from 0 to 48. And the next one is to 52. And then I have different grading keys that I want to work with. This is nice to be able to print it and give it to the teachers. Here's what we specify that we want you to look at. So if I don't need the BS ones, I just need the others, then I have the option to come in and say, oh, show me this through here and then get rid of the level. So those are the ones I want to print. So I clicked once on the bottom one. I used my Shift key to come up to the grading key. And then I used my Control key to individually toggle this one off or back on. And then when I print, I'm only going to print those. So here's what the teacher needs to know. This is how I want you to fill them in. Makes it really handy for the teachers. Questions so far? Okay. Once you have the courses set up, you need to make sure that you have your teachers and your rooms. So under School, you can go to Edit Rooms, and this gives you the ability to add in the different rooms that you have at the school. Whether you put in a description or not is your choice. If I needed to add in, say I had a 2nd floor, I can add up here, put in the new course, the new room number, and put in a description or not. Some elementaries, this teacher is in a specific room, so this would give you the ability to add in the name of the teacher that's in the room this year, knowing that next year it might be a different teacher, or maybe last year it was a different teacher. So I just have to come in and change it. I don't have to have a description. We're going to save and exit out of this one. And to add in your staff, that's under School. Minimum is Edit Staff Basic. In here, you can use your yellow plus to add in the staff ID. The minimum you need is your display name, the last name and first name. The homeroom is needed if you want the teachers to be entering attendance in the specific room. You can specify some staff who's in here as non-instructional, in which case they will not be available for the being added into sections to actually grade the course. You might have those people in here for discipline purposes because they can report discipline infractions. That might be just a generic bus driver, cafeteria staff, that sort of thing, rather than the specific name of the staff member. The homeschool is used for if the teacher is at multiple schools. For some of the lunch programs, we need to know which is sort of their primary or home school, so we give you a way to check that. And it's just add it in and go from there. Whether your staff IDs are numeric, letters, any combination, it's entirely up to you. If you go to the stack of folders, it lets you locate and see all of the teachers that are currently out there. So if I was adding another teacher, let me go back and look for a moment. So I just have straight numbers in here. I can go ahead and add someone else. If I want to sort of associate it with what room they're in, I don't have to. Actually, let's not do that. So let's do 108 because that's just the next number. And it's letting me know that that number is used in another school in another year. So it's not going to let me use that number. Actually, it's in this school because I'm in school 930. So let me put in 110. And then you just add in last name, first name. You can put in a gender if you'd like, the title, Mr., Mrs., Ms., Dr., whatever you need. And I can say it's in room 201. And you'll notice that when I tab to the room, I got a little drop down. So I'm going to be able to see all the rooms that are out there. And I can put in an email address if I'd like. If you fill in the email address, the parents and students, when they look at the courses, are going to have a hyperlink to that email address. So if they click on it, it would bring up whatever is their default browser, so that gives the parents the ability to directly contact the teachers. So very straightforward for putting in this. You wanted to add more information, the note might be what the teacher is certified to teach in, or what they're willing to teach, or any other kind of note you want. And that note will grow as big as you need. The physical limit per note is a gig. So if you wanted to type in all of War and Peace, it would take it. I don't know if I'd want to sit there and type it all, though. So it lets you add in those teachers and those rooms. Once you have the room and teachers in there, let me go back up to the admin for just a moment into database configuration. Because when I was here before, I didn't touch on the scheduling tab. The scheduling tab is where I can set up how many days are in my scheduling cycle, how many periods are in my day. The maximum on the days in the scheduling cycle is 14. The maximum number of periods is 99. This is where you set how long your course codes can be. And for a skills-based, I'm usually setting it up to 12, which is my maximum. Right now, my sections are set up to 2. If I stay numeric with my section codes, that's 99 different sections. I probably don't need that many. We do give you a way to change the name of your study halls, not normally needed with a skills-based. And this is also where you can track the entry and exit dates of your schedule. So if a student moves from one section to another, you can track when they left the first one and entered the second one. That can be useful for some of the state reporting that you do. You don't have to track it, it's here if you'd like. So that's just a piece that I forgot the first time through. When you come into advanced skills, you can edit the sections for the skill grades. The sections are the specific meeting times. So if there are 2 sections, one for first grade, one for second grade, then I would have to add in each one as I go. You can set up the beginning and ending period. They are normally the same. If I change the first one, it automatically changes the second one. If I change the second one, it doesn't change the first one. Most of your elementaries do not have a multiple period meeting time. You might, but it's rare. You can set up what room, what teacher, and with the teacher you can either go under the teacher code, in which case they are in numeric order or alpha order, or you can go after the teacher name, in which case they're in alphabetic name by the display name. So it all depends on what you need. When you first add a section, the enrolled will be blank or 0 until such time as we add students into the sections. So it all depends on what you're looking for. If I want to go ahead and add in another class, it'll let me pick which course I want to work with. So if I wanted to add my English 3, I can add that in, and I might not want Section 1, I might want Section 3. Or I might want Section 3A if I have 2 different third grade sections. So my section number doesn't have to stay numeric. When I click OK, it lets me pick the period. I can now pick the room and or the teacher. So rather than drop the list, if I know the teacher name, I can just type the letters that I'm looking for to put the student or the teacher into that group, or I can drop the list and pick them from in there. You'll notice that when I actually dropped the list and selected, it automatically filled in the teacher code for me. But my enrolled is 0. For those that have worked with the full MMS, the full grading, you'll notice that there's a lot of columns that aren't here. What's my maximum per course? What's my grade plan? Whether I want to omit it from class attendance, and those are usually things that are not needed in a elementary style report card, and that's why we don't have them in here. So it's just your choice. One of the reasons I modified the section number, the section code, is if I have a new student coming in, it's nice to know, oh, I can pull all of the section numbers that are 3A. And those are the sections I'm going to give this room worth of kids. So it makes it a little easier when I have to start putting that in. Again, your choice. So I'm going to save and exit out of here. Once you have your sections, now because I'm actually in the section editor, even if it's a modified one, when I exit, it always asks, do I want to update the meeting times? You know, do I want to update the table? So where I know I haven't assigned any students to it yet, I can say no. If I say yes, it doesn't take that long, especially with only 103 kids. So it ran through and told me I didn't have any study halls, and that's okay. But it updated. At this point, under Advanced Skills, I can actually go give students that section. So under Advanced Skills, I'm going to come down under Operations, where I'm working with a group of students, and I'm going to mass assign the students into their classes. So that brings up the mass edit, and I'm only working with courses in sections. I'm not working with just sections. If I needed to add in, say, if 01 for my regular courses was art, music, and so on, I would select 6 at a time my different courses that start with section 1. And so it gives me a way to very quickly put students into their sections. So I said I can do 6 at a time. So there's my first 6 if I was doing first grade. I can come over to Edit Condition and select based on what homeroom the student is in. The search here is just on one letter. So when I typed in H, it got me to the first H course or H field. I can then scroll down to find homeroom, or I might want to better go after them based on the homeroom teacher. And when I look at the homeroom teacher, it lets me pull by their teacher name rather than when I go with HR, which is what homeroom they're in. So if this was the section that I wanted, I could apply this. I'd see it at the bottom when I go back into my course ad. And it doesn't matter whether I set up the sections first or the condition and then the courses, as long as I do them both before I hit the process. So that makes it very easy for me. And by doing a condition, it saves me from having to keep coming in here and changing what homeroom they're in. So I don't have to keep redoing a student range, even though I could do that. If I was looking for all the kids in room 104, I could deselect everyone, sort it on the homeroom, which is what I just did. Click in here, type 104. It found the first student in 104. Click and hold the control key down, click under Nate Abbiatici, come back to my homeroom, go to 105, hold the control key down, click in front of Chad Baker, and now I have the 17 kids that are in that one room. So whether I do it through the student range or through the edit condition, it doesn't matter. Usually I'm doing one or the other. The nice thing with the condition is I don't have to keep changing it depending on what I need. The reset selections just says clear the list. If I find I added a course that I'm not needing anymore, I can come in here and drop it. Maybe I decide, no, I don't really want to do an overall conduct or effort grade. I can just come in here and say, yep, go ahead and delete them. And if I'm doing it, I might do it for both. So I can pick both sections, and I might want to clear my condition. And I can just come under Edit Condition and clear that. So now when I come back out, we're not going to see it there. And please do remember, depending on what we're working with here, you can always go to the question mark, and that's going to bring up help on where you are. I love it when you say no and it does it anyway. So it knows I'm on the mass assigned student classes, but it also knows that I'm on the course drop tab and not the course add tab. So it knows exactly what tab I'm on. And if I come back, I can go to the mass assigned classes, and then it's going to show me the different tabs that's here and give me a nice quick to go to each of the tabs. So it's really nice that it puts that out there for me. So on a bulk basis, I can add courses, I can drop them, I can replace one with another. Maybe I need to pull some students out of the regular class and put them in a co-taught class. inclusion class, that's very much doable. When we start doing the drop or the replace, you also get a question about, do I want to do that for students that have a withdrawal grade? So if I've already moved the student once partway through the year, say 3 weeks in, I've moved them from one section to another, and then I come in here and says, do you still want to do the one you already withdrew? And this says yes, but I can turn it off and say no. The conditional add or the conditional drop is where I'm using one course to key the others. So if I'd already moved everybody or set up a section to put kids into homerooms, I could then use that section to put in their other courses. Or opposite of that, to drop them from one with the other. Now when I do a drop, there's an additional question. Do I want to delete courses that are withdrawn? Besides, use this when they're withdrawn. So it gives me a couple of options. So very straightforward for setting these up. Once the kids are in their classes, you can go under the regular GRD button, the Student Grade Editor. And that's going to show you what courses the student has. Now, Jacqueline here has both kindergarten and first and second grade. But if I go look at Nate, Nate only has first and second grade. And if I want to know what grade he's in, I just click on the little camera. And that's going to bring up a profile, and I can see that Nate's a second grader. Besides the fact that his year of grad of 2022 is going to tell me he's a second grader. But I can see that in my specials that they're each meeting a different day. The periods are sort of arbitrary. The idea is more to set it up so that maybe the teacher is not in conflict. And that's where we can see that C. Hummer is the main teacher for this student. So they have the conduct, effort, English, handwriting, math, personal social development, reading, religion, spelling, study habits. So all of these, this teacher is handling in this grade. By the time I get into maybe 6th grade, 5th grade, maybe it's not all going to be the same teacher. But it gives me the option. So it's just nice to be able to see what's going on. The status on the far right is going to show a G if there's been grades assigned. Now these are the subject grades, not the skill grades. I'm seeing a maximum and how many are actually enrolled. Under the status, if I also saw a W, that would indicate that the student had been withdrawn from the course. So it gives me that option also. So it just is a nice quick way to see what's going on. If I had a new student who came in under advanced skills, more editing jobs, is I can enter a student's class assignments on an individual basis. And that's going to give me a list of just the section selection. And I can sort on any of the columns. So here's all my 1s together, all my 2s together, and then my 3A or kindergarten are together. I can sort on who the teacher is. So if I wanted to select all of blanks, I can do that. And then I would just need to pick up the specials that go with it. The right-hand side is going to show me what they are already assigned into. If it's blank, it means they haven't been assigned into anything. But if I leave those checked, when I do a save and exit, it would add these courses along with these. So I don't want to really do that for this student. But if I had one who started today, this is a nice, easy way to give them their course selections without having to do the mass edit, and I can do more than 6 at a time. I probably don't want to do this one student at a time because it just takes longer. It's faster to do the 6 at a time in the mass assign. This is more for if it's only one student. So it just gives you a way to put that in. If I want to update the enrollments so that when I come in under advanced skills and I'm back into the edit course sections, if I want to make sure my enrolled are up to date, then that's just a matter of under skills, operations, I can update my class enrollments. And that's just going to go back through. Now this will count only the students who are active in scheduling. Doesn't matter the filter I'm in, because it's going to look at all my students. Under biographical, more edits, you have the set student active, inactive status. So as long as the student is active in scheduling, they will be counted in the seats. That's where it comes in. When a student leaves the school, you usually make them inactive in biographical, so they stop showing in your active filter, and you make them inactive in scheduling, so they stop getting counted in that course. You would leave them active in attendance, discipline, and the other modules so that you can still print the reports and or report them to the state. Okay? Because I've got New Jersey and Pennsylvania, they usually have to be active in attendance in order to be reported to the state. So it just makes that easy for you. If I want to print who's in those classes, I can go under Advanced Skills, More Reports, and print the class list. So this is going to get me printed either all classes, those that meet during a selected week, and most elementary courses, they're year-long. I might not want to do it by course section. I might want to do it by the teacher name instead. So when I build, it's just going to give me a list of the teacher names rather than the courses. When I go to my report layout, I can see whether it's portrait or landscape, which angle am I putting the paper at. Is it one data line or two? And do I want a blank line between students? Sometimes for visibility, that's nice. You can opt to include any combination of ID, year of grad, gender, and homeroom. You also have the ability, if your user account lets you, to show any health alerts if the student has one when you print class lists. The default is you will normally skip classes with 0 enrolled, but you can include withdrawn students if you'd like. You can print 2 more biographical fields, and that's any bio field you want, and a title at the top. When you print, it lets you see real quick what's going on. So here's Health 1, 2 for Beeline, and none of these students have a health alert because I'm not seeing anything there. I go to the next page, Jackie has a bee sting allergy. It's a nice quick way for the teachers to find out what's going on. So it makes it real easy. Okay? So for each section that they're in, and I'm getting multiples of these because I'm going to the different teachers. Now here I have the main teacher for room 103. So I have conduct first, then I have effort, so it's going to be the same kids in each one, or at least it should be the same kids in each one. So it lets me see all of those. Makes it nice. If I want to see the skills for one student, I can go under Advanced Skills and print the student record listing. And I can pick which skills I want to see, or all of them. I can include students with no grades or notes recorded, and the default is no, but I can change that to yes, and I need to because nobody, well, no, they do have some stuff right now. And I can opt to start each student on their own page. Now, I'm not going to print everybody. I only want to print, say, Nate. Now, when I print, I'm going to be able to see what's filled in so far. So under art, they haven't filled in any grades yet. And the ones that are grade here means that I'm not scoring those. So when I come down into English, I can see that for Nate in English, in that particular course and section, he's gotten checks the first marking period and he's got pluses the second marking period. So Nate's doing much better second marking period. And then I can go forward. These were not done the first marking period because they have the dashes in there, but they are handled on the second marking period. Nate is doing his math at a third grade level, even though he's a second grader. So it's nice being able to see what they have filled in. And these are alphabetic. These are still going to be in the sort order that's in the when you set up the groups. I was about to say they were alphabetic, but they are not. So it lets you see the different areas that they're working with. Makes it really handy to put these things out there. So it's a way to be able to see where the student is on a quick basis. And it's also a way to catch when they have the same group more than once, because you can see, oh, I had it under spelling and I had it under study habits, or whatever the grouping was. That it's like, that's not quite what I meant. But it does let you see what's there. Questions? Okay. So just as a quick review, you're going to go under Admin, Database Configuration. This lets you set up under grading that you want to be able to do skills-based grading and or a term base. Under scheduling, you're going to set how many days are in your schedule, how many periods you want to work with, and usually the periods is I want one for each course the student is in, or each so that the teacher has separate time frames. I can set up how long my course codes are, and I usually set them up to 12. You can set up how long you want the section numbers. Under Advanced Skills, More Edits, you would set up the number of marking periods that you want to work with and whether you want notes or not, or just grades or both. You can set the display order of what order you want to see them in, and you can change the headings if you like. If you don't want to see first, second, third, fourth, you want to see Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4, MP1 through MP4, that's entirely your choice. Under Advanced Skills, More Edits, you would do the edit the valid grades for the skill groups. This lets you set up which grades you want where. I have a tendency in my description to add in the type of grading that I'm doing here. So my math and reading levels might be K to 8. My subcodes could be plus, check, minus, whatever I need. So it just gives me a little hint of what sort of grades I'm working with. You would use the yellow plus to add the overall grade group. Once you have the group and you've given it a description, you would go into Edit Grades and then go back to your yellow plus to add the different grades that you want. And then you exit here. Under Advanced Skills, you can go down to Edit Skill Groups and Skills. This is where you would add the overall skill group and then add the skill itself. So I have to have a skill group before I can start adding skills. The edit is so that I can edit a longer description. The default skill, the group order is going to start with 1 and go up from there. The skill order, 0 is always the main skill level, and everything else is a sequential number after that. You can assign the grade group based on the skill that you're entering and indicate which grades that you want to work with this. Now this is not the grade level of the student. This is the marking period grade. And that's why some schools will change it from 1st through 4th to MP1 through MP4 or something like that, because otherwise they're thinking that's first graders, not the first grade of this skill. And it doesn't matter as long as you're consistent, whatever you want it to be. And especially if you do it before you start setting up your report card project. Once you have your skills set up, you would go back under advanced. First you would go under school and edit rooms to add in what rooms that you have. You would go under school, edit staff basic and or expanded, depending on how much information you want to enter. And you would put in your different teachers. And then advanced skills to edit the courses for the skill grades. You would add in your courses with a description, and then you would be able to come over to the skill group and move over whatever skill group applies to that course. And you can add more than one over if you would like. Just depends on what you need. Once you do that, if you have already assigned the sections to the students, when you save and exit, if we had done anything by moving a skill group over or back, it would then update the students. The next, once you have your courses in, under advanced skills, is you're going to edit the course sections. And this is where we would come in and add for each course whatever section you need, potentially changing the section number. It'll bring in the section name as the course name. You can set up different periods if you'd like for the different teachers, so that each subject is going to be under its own period, so there's not a teacher conflict and or room conflict. So you assign a room, you assign a teacher to it. Under advanced skills, operations, you can mass assign the students into their classes, usually setting up a condition first to say what room they're in, so either based on the homeroom or the homeroom teacher name. You would select who you want as the person that you're going to be assigning that group of kids for. You would apply it so it's at the bottom, come back into the course add or so, and then pick up to 6 courses at a time to be able to put these in. You set them up and then you process. Very straightforward. And then you would change your condition and do the next group. Or just change the sections and do the next group. Either one works. Once those are there, if I have done it in the order I just showed, then under admin I need to go to data integrity. And in here at the bottom, it lets me synchronize the student schedule table with their skills. So based on what courses they have, it'll now bring in the skills. And that's very straightforward. You just process and it'll run through and make sure the kids have all the skills that you specified. This is also where you would go if you add a new skill to the skill group. And then your log is just going to show you that it's synchronized. Very straightforward. Very straightforward. And I do not need to save that when I come out. Now, if I want the teachers to also be able to enter full assignments, as in a standard gradebook, then under School Edit Course Sections, this is the one thing I didn't show you earlier, is I come in, I now have the full section editor, so I'm going to be able to see what days it meets. I can see the semester code, and as I scroll right, I'm also going to be able to see what grade plan they're in. So where I added English 3 earlier, it didn't have a grade plan, but I can come in and add in the grade plan, and that would let the teacher do assignments and be able to get averages that way. And if I do that, then I have to run data integrity again to synchronize the student grade records versus their skill records. So very straightforward to be able to put things in. Any questions? I thank you for participating in the webinar, and we will see you on the next one when we're going to go over the setting up the actual report card project and being able to produce a report card.